Well, how do we know that the final English draft of the treaty must have been lost at that early stage? That is, within only a few months of the Waitangi signing. How do we know it was lost? Well, think about it. If it had been available, surely Freeman would have used it as the basis for writing his treaty versions. Surely other British officials would have insisted on this. The British ordinarily were sticklers for detail and correct process. They were fastidious. So how is it that absolutely no one reined Freeman in? The only reasonable explanation is that Freeman was requested, quote, to produce more copies of the treaty in English because the original final draft could not be found. There are other unanswered questions too. For example, where was Henry Williams, the missionary who translated the final English draft into Maori at Waitangi? Well, that's a good question. Where was he? Why didn't he step in and say, well, let me check that? Why wasn't he called upon to check that James Freeman Rogue version, I've called it, JFRV? Why wasn't he called upon to check that the JFRV was faithful in every respect to the master copy of the treaty in Maori, the copy signed at Waitangi on the 6th of February 1840? Williams was lost in action. Freeman was incompetent. Hobson was terribly ill. When I said earlier that things started to unravel for the British in March and April 1840, now you can see what I mean. With the original English draft lost, Freeman began writing his own, quote, flowery versions of the treaty. Not having a final English draft to go on, he had to use the discarded notes of the treaty writers. And not knowing Maori, he could not do a back translation. So what's the net result? Well, the net result was that his treaties in English were markedly different from the treaty in Maori.